VUD people, we're a few minutes early. If you missed the last stream, I've started an experiment where I'm just doing face cam all the time, because why not? I want to see how it is. Also part of the experiment is more streaming. So we're streaming Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday now. And I made the mistake. I'm getting stream music up. I made the mistake Sunday saying, oh, I probably won't have anything. We'll probably just do a chill Skyrim stream. I got stuff I need to do. We got stuff we need to do. And on that list of stuff I need to do, I don't know if I should do it again. I need a Destructor Hammer. Hello, Shadow. I need a Destructor Hammer. In the past, for the funnies, I have done the Netherite Destructor Hammer, which in total takes 120 ancient debris. Or I could be sensible and just make a diamond one. Diamond? Yeah, this is the thought. Do I do netherite or do I do diamond? Do I do netherite for the funnies? Because we can do it easily. We have the, there's multiple structures that give you netherite, and I know how to get it. So theoretically, if I'm not mining it, it should be easy. But do I? Do I put in the time for that? And the idea is, the moment I actually make the hammer, hopefully it won't take the full 2 hours. We're just gonna chill out with Skyrim. Diamond is good enough. You right. It's so much cheaper and easier to repair. That is true. Literally, I just want this to make tunnels for the paths. That's the only reason we're doing this. Right now, I'm just using streams to make paths for the server, so I can make sure I get that done. Alright, we'll do diamond. It'll match with Binkus. We can do that. Also, the drink of today's stream is strawberry milk. Stairs in my 500. I have the diamond blocks. I just need to go get some more netherite to make the base hammer for the cores. Delicious. Yeah, Racecar's currently challenging or checking in on Shadow to make sure Shadow's getting as much as possible. Why do I? Oh, that's right. Because StreamCord is doing it for me, so the everyone includes myself because I'm not the one doing it. But yeah, that is the plan for today. We are gonna hang out, do the Minecrafts, get the netherite I need, and once that's done, I will cut the VOD there because I don't usually save the stream con. No, we'll try. No, we'll do separate VODs. That's easier for me to post to YouTube because I don't save. That's the word I want. I don't typically save the variety content. I haven't been on much lately, just not having the spoons. That's fair. I didn't record it all yesterday, or today. I was supposed to record today. I didn't do that at all. I was supposed to. Probably half of it is I was waiting on news for this thing or that. Wiggle! Nice. I was waiting on news for this thing and that, and trying to figure out what in the world's going on with this thing, that thing. And like, okay, I know I need to do this thing, I need to do that thing. And then I got I have a problem. ADHD might help a little bit with this. I have the compulsion to just finish everything, and this is horrible when I start binge watching something again, because I don't want to stop binge watching it. Unless it's at the perfect end and beginning. It's easy if I get it in between videos, and they're like short videos. But if I start the next one, I can't stop until it's done again. And I don't want to end it too early. It's fun. And so I'm like, okay, I want to numb on some of my pumpkin seeds, because lunch was kind of meh. I want to numb on some of my delicious pumpkin seeds. So let me have another video up, and then that video finished before I could finish my pumpkin seeds, so I'm like, okay, I'll have another one up. Betties! Let's come, Betties. Hello, Bookish. It's like, okay, the next video went up, and I'm like, okay, lurk, no ears, thank you. Let me finish up this video, because now my pumpkin seeds are done. So I was supposed to start, like, 1 or so. Ended up, but I thought I was going to start at 3, and then that didn't happen. And I spent the next hour doom scrolling Tumblr. I did find, where is that post? What was this? Pinterest? I went back and forth between Pinterest and Tumblr. Because I'm like, you know what? I've spammed Tumblr enough. Let me go on to Pinterest and look at Tumblr memes on Pinterest instead. Was this one I found on here on Pinterest? Yes, it was. I found a beautiful post, and this relates to another post. I'm so happy. There is a really old post on Tumblr that is somewhat notorious. It's very niche humor of the average person eats couple hundred spiders a night factoid is actually just a statistical error. Spiders Jorg, who lives in a cave and eats 10,000 spiders a night, should not have been counted. So I found this other post. Why the fuck is there a big spider on my bedroom wall? It doesn't look like any spider I've ever seen in my entire life. What the fuck? Are you sure it's a spider? And they provided a picture. Yes, I'm sure. It looks like this. Oh, that's a wolf spider. They taste like celery and pork, and they aren't poisonous. Why is it in my room? And why do you know what it tastes like? They added the person. Why do you know what a wolf spider tastes like? Nightbot, why are you... Oh, you're hitting all the things because it's 7 o'clock on the dot. Thank you, Nightbot. I'm so happy that I set your timers up as they are. That's great. Why do you know what a wolf spider tastes like? Num num. What? Yummy, yummy. This is I'm reading this verbatim. Yummy, yummy in my tummy. When and why did you eat a wolf spider? Bandcamp, 2019. There was an infestation. I started eating them to get rid of them. I have since eaten cockroaches, crickets, grasshoppers, and those little green grass spiders. The greenies taste like vegetarian sausage. Why was your solution to eat them? I mean, no one else is gonna. Spiders, Jorg! I need to find this on Tumblr at some point. I really want to. Every now and again. I follow a blog called World Post Heritage. What are you? Hellsite Hall of Fame. That's what it is. World Heritage Post Organization is a different one. Hellsite Hall of Fame collects a bunch of these old posts, and they will, over time, just slowly reblog them. Like, the originals. It's fantastic. I'm very happy about it. Sorry, I have to scroll through the color of the sky. If you know, you know. Like, this one that's gone around for a long time and trying to figure out the number code is, which is probably just a birth year. So they figured out, oh, it's probably 1970 or 0791 because of the like the aging on the buttons, which you could tell which order it was pressed in, which would be 0719, which would mean September's. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with what I said. That's not September. That's July. July 19th, also a birthday. Anyway. Oh, and of course the Tumblr code, which is, if you see someone in person that probably is on Tumblr, the code is, I like your shoelaces, and the response is, I stole them from the president. So now you know. A bunch of beautiful, beautiful posts. I love Hellsite Hall of Fame. It is fantastic. Anyway, Minecraft. Now that I've talked my ass off for like 10 minutes. Minecraft. I didn't even realize I'm wearing the strawberry milk hoodie. I have a coaster on this, and I have strawberry milk. Delicious. Okay, things to mention. I made a little community house. That's all I did today. I made a community house. That's what I did this morning. Because I didn't have anything to edit. I wasn't planning on super editing out the stream VOD from Sunday. I'm still mildly congested. It's almost gone. Almost. There's just a little bit of clogging in my nose, but that could honestly just be my allergies. It could very well be. But I can't wait to breathe again. Anyway. I made a cute little community house and I struggled with it for a while because I didn't have enough green terracotta, and I'm like, okay, let me do this design for the roof, let me do this design, and I ended up with the most basic design, and I still had to run out for green terracotta. I didn't have more green dye that I could make, and I made a mini cactus farm, but I don't want to wait on the cactus farm, so I went all the way out to the desert and explored a bunch of stuff around there. So a whole bunch of fun. But very cute little community house. And I love him very dearly, very cute. And if I dared forget a block, I had to run all the way back over to my base for it. So that's great. Anyway, we have a good 12-seater table, a little community board over here that people can come over and edit if they want to put up random stuff. A cute little kitchen going on, and then there's just some beds up here. So it's just a cute little quaint thing. I died in that desert like 6 times. Yeah, I'm very thankful you already went through the desert temples. I had assumed it was probably you. I'm very thankful you had already went through them, because that just means I could fly in and out. It was easy. I could go grab the gunpowder I wanted. And the dune trims. The dune trims were nice. This is on the roof. Let's actually go over here. So I need the Destructor Hammer, and to make the damn thing at all, you need Netherite to make a Netherite Hammer, which is used to make the base core that makes it. But, while that is only 12 debris, it's not too much. I have better ways to get stuff. I've been looking through a lot of the loot tables, aka I go through to every structure, and I made my game crash multiple times doing so on a copy of the world, and teleporting about to see what loot I could get where. Because I swear there's some mod. There's some mod, and I might be thinking of... I might be thinking of Amalgamation, but I swore we had some mod that I went looting around this season, and I'm like, oh, a turtle shell helmet. I won't need that. And I don't remember where, and I need one. I did not ever find it. I did find a way I could loot and just grab tridents, though. It's ocean mine shafts from repurposed structures. Speaking of repurposed structures, we're going to nether cities. Or actually, we should... how close is a monument versus a city? Monument is 5,000. City is 2,000. We're going to a city first. The city is guaranteed debris. And usually an ingot thrown here and there. And I can't wait to load all of these chunks. This is going to be so much fun. I'm going to be just flying into so many worlds. So many. All the time. It's crazy. Like, last week I was so hell-bent on I had no time. I need to do this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing. And then this week I'm like, I doom scrolled for an hour. And I still didn't really have much I needed to do. Because this week is the XP farms. And I want to upgrade the spawners, which we can do. Which means I need to go collect a bunch of stuff. And last week I already collected the building materials, so all I have to do is record me getting the tridents, and getting the turtle shells, and beacons, because of course I need beacons. I need at least 4 of them. So I can't wait for that! I'm gonna have to, I know there's things that have spawners for wither skellies. I'm just gonna have to find the wither skelly spawners. I'm just gonna have to find them somehow, some way, some when. So this is gonna be so much fun. So much. I love it so much. Hi, you. You're one of the things I didn't check. What's your loot table? I know you're trapped. Trapped to hell. No, thank you. I learned my lesson in amalgamation. Okay, yeah, no. Don't need any of that. Cool. Great. Noted. Lovely. Gonna do like a nasty sniffle. Hold on. Lovely. Now I don't feel like I'm talking with a snorkel on. Where is... Oh, hey, Incendium, I love that. Thank you so much. I'd be really interested to see if anyone's actually gonna do the Infernal in the SMP. Oh, I love the lag. I love the lag so dearly. That's not what I was trying to do. I swear if I drop any of these, I am going to be very upset at myself. And drink some more strawberry milk. There we go. Yoink. Okay, there we go. Debris. So we just need... Yep, that's why we're here. That is the exact reason. And we're... Yeah, it would help if I wore the light. This is why I don't take it off. This is why I don't. Are you you're half spawned in. You got rid of the important part of it! You suck! You got rid of the most important part of the damn thing. I need those chests, man. You suck. Aye, bonkus. 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 I'm pretty sure these normally spawn blazes anyway, but these are just desert blazes, so it's infinitely more annoying. Because they don't even drop anything useful afterward. Normal diamond knife. There we go, debris. Give me debris. Yoink. Also, this is giving away just how low I keep my render distance. I mention it all the time. I will continue to mention it because I think it is funny. Whoop. I think it was like recording for amalgamation. I never actually knew that with golden apples cured wither. Was that just... Oh, maybe that was just a my mod pack thing. No, it did. It did. I don't know. Might have been my mod pack thing. Honestly, I'm not sure. Oh, I've never been in the fortress. Huh. Well. First time for everything. Where? Thank you, sir. Ever so kind. Can I just grab... I literally need one. Oh, yep, one more. Thank you. Alright. Alright. Thank you. Is there anywhere else I can loot? Yes. So I'm assuming I did not collect from here. Hi. No. Thank you. Hello. Debonkus. So I'm gonna take the ancient debris if I can get my hands on it. Yeah, right, I came from over here. Hey, yoink! Bonk my toenails on the way out. And this side, did I collect from? Did I gain my taxes? No, I did not. No, I didn't. Hello, chest. Debris, thank you. I love just because of my texture packs, I love just randomly seeing a couple pencils in loot chests. It's the best thing. Honestly. I adore it way more than I should. The spot, yeah. There's nothing here. We're leaving. Oh yeah, I wanted to go to a monument because those are chock full of netherite as well. Nether monument. And the nether monument replaced... Why 7,000? It's probably the exact same one. So now it's even far. But why 7,000? Why must you do that to me? The nether monument, it replaces the normal sponge room with a debris room. However, it is in lava, but that can be counteracted by a god apple. So... And chances are you'll probably get a god apple in it as well. I want to stop here. I want to see... I want to go to the loot room real quick. Yeah, I know. Oh, lovely. You're a horrid, horrid spawn. That is not what I needed from you. I literally just wanted to go to your loot room. Do you even have a good loot room anywhere? Oh no, it is. It's over here. Okay. Oh, we can just circumvent this entire thing if it's literally right there. Because that's all I want. That's the room that actually has the good stuff. Now, we care about the rest of it. Doesn't matter so much. Yeah, it can have loot, but it's not the loot that we want. This is, however, not amalgamation, so we're gonna be extra careful with this. Is this... Excuse? I just want to snipe your toenails. Thank you. Yeah, this is why we're being careful. Unlimited power! Thank you. And you dropped a mending book, which I am very pleased to see. Is this a face? Those are toenails. Fantastic. Thank you. Get bonked. Into the right spot for me to bonk you. Come on. Please. Pretty please. Pretty please. Thank you. Debris! Plumber's plunder and crying obsidian, why not? That's a really good torch to keep on you. I will explain it in but a moment. Protection, piercing, I guess I'll keep it. I really need to get respiration, I don't have that. So, what if I could just say no? What if we could just say no? I don't need to be over there, do you? I don't think we need to be over there. I really don't think we need to be over there. I just don't think we don't. I don't think we do. Yeah, redstone, no. Yeah, repeaters are annoying to make, especially comparators. Please, thank you. Diamonds, because why not? I don't know if I actually need quartz. I really don't think I do. I will take those. I will take all of those, actually. Did you have more redstone torches? No. Great. Cool. Gunpowder! Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All the things. I still have stuff in here. From doing stuff earlier. Lovely. I do still want that on me. So the torture lunacy that we got emits a strange light which blinds nearby desert places if kept in your inventory. So it's great when navigating this hellscape. Oh, it's feather falling on that too. Cool. Nice. And then somehow I leap. Yes. Somehow. Somehow. By the magic of putting back on my elytra. I saw a dungeon. Hold on. Dungeon? You got it? You got the annoyings. That's what you got. Bonk. I'm slowly collecting a bunch of spawners and I'm just keeping... I have 38 spawners now. Blocks. Chirp. 13. I don't got those yet. I don't think. Probably not. Also, I love I just have Nightmare, like, perpetually in my inventory right now. He just likes hanging out there. I don't know. He just vibing. Cheers. Where? It's 6,000. Hey, it's an outpost. Hi. Hi, buddy boys. Any of you got bows? Yeah, you got the bow. Goodbye. Yeah, I don't trust none of that. I really don't trust any of that. You're way too fast. For your own good. Yeah, no. I'm very glad I almost one-shot all of them. I don't one-shot the brutes. I do one-shot everything else. There we go. Debris and onions. Plenty of onion. Plenty of onyo. Onions for moi. It's vibe. I don't think I've been over... I feel like I've been over here, but I'm loading new stuff in, so I clearly haven't. These forests all look the same. Can I see? I feel like I'm driving in the snow. Says person who doesn't have license. I'm working on it, but it's not happened yet. Can I see 2 feet in front of me? That would be great if I could do that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Whip. Oh yeah, for the shell challenge that I did last week, I'm gonna try and readjust how I went at it. What is this? Oh, it's a mine shaft. That's why you look so weird. You're a mine shaft. Okay, I was very confused. Now I understand. I want to try and readjust how I went about the shell challenge. That is, I want to try doing the shell challenge, but in survival mode. I feel like that'd be interesting. Because the dice I used aren't hard to craft. They're just bones and a stone cutter. So I feel like that'd be a very interesting goal to do. Yeah, boop, boop. Let me out! Let me out. Thank you. Bear trying not to be a bird at a window. It's still 4,000. It doesn't help. I keep my render distance low, but still, you could load a little bit more in front of me. It'd be great. There's a lot of warp forest out here. Hey, are you the thing I think you are? That's like really easy to cheese. Yes, yes, you are. Except for that guy over there. Yeah, no, thank you, buddy, boy, goodbye, bye-bye. Okay. We good? No, you're not. Okay. Apple. I got pig stuff at some point. I don't remember how. I'm pretty sure I did. Debris. String. Moving on. Hey, boop. Apple. Back up. Back down. Twergo. We're fine. It's fine. We carry on. I just want to show off the monument. But no. It's ridiculously far out. For no particular reason. I feel like it would have been faster going to the Nether Stronghold, which does have debris. It actually had a lot of debris when I was looking at it. A shit ton, actually. The libraries aren't actual libraries, it's just like random assortments of ore. But it's pretty much guaranteed to have like a piece or two of debris, and then the chests usually have debris as well. Just a whole bunch of stuff. Distracted driving. Block brick. Oh, it's, right, that one. It's the big bad boy. And this is a dead hand. Let me free. I want to break free. I want to... The turtle shell's still annoying the fuck out of me, to be clear. Because I swore I have, 1, seen the Tears music disc as loot, and 2, I swear I've seen the turtle shell as loot. And I'm trying to figure out where in the world I could find these, but I just have to slowly go through chests and hope that I'll see it in whatever structure I go to. And 2, there is no mod that will let you just like kind of casually look at the loot tables of your mods. There's ones to adjust the loot tables and such, and I mean, technically, I guess you kind of see them from that. But I do not think that's how they operate. I really just want to see the loot tables of these mofos and be like, okay, you have the Tears music disc. I can circumvent the things I need to do by just going to this structure. I'd rather do all the hard work so I can be a lazy bastard. That is the motto of my life. I work hard right now, I can just chill out for a minute. And sometimes I need to chill out for a minute so I can work hard. It's how it is. Or that is to say, not necessarily work hard so I can chill out, but work hard so I can work easier later. Although even sometimes I don't do that, I'll usually just tackle things in the exact order I wrote them. Which is not helpful for me. Honestly, I don't even do that. It's whatever feels like the priority in the moment, which is absolutely impulsive. Yeah, I got no further notes on that one. Not a further thought than that. Where is this? You'd think these would consistently be in the lava oceans, but they are not. They just kind of spawn wherever they want. If this is going to lead me to the one I teleported to on the copy of the world, then we are literally going to be directly underground. It just spawns where it wants to. Excuse. Trying to fly and failing. Because I am very, very blind. Ancient battlefield. I don't know what that tone was that I took on for that, but alright. I still don't know what has the Wither Skelly spawners. I feel like I've already done this on this SMP, and I was looking specifically for Wither Skelly spawners, but I don't remember what it was. Soul Searcher, radioactive. Apparently I haven't been in the radioactive biome yet. That, or I'm thinking of amalgamation again, because I absolutely could be. My brain goes off keyword search, but both of these things trigger the keyword search for it now. Because I've crossed over some things, which I probably shouldn't have done, but it's made a great experience, so I'm not gonna be too upset about it. I will never be upset that we added Incendium into this, into PSMP. A little bit extra. Oh, lag. Great. In the middle of the air. No. You're not allowed. Oh, I should kill him with my sword, though. Alright, come down here. I need to try and get a Wither Skull. Nope. Nada. Are there any more of you? Yes, there are. Oh, gotta love the lag. Yep, I appreciate it, so I really do. And not a single skull, regardless. I care about the coal more than anything else in here. Actually, I should collect gold blocks. I should. I really should. On the grinding obsidian, that's a good plus. What a map. Another fortress. Yeah, I don't think we need one. Just gonna throw that out there. I don't think we do, actually. I think I'm good. I need not for more. And those boots have a bunch of curses on them, so no thank you. What are you? Fire? Hey! Actually... Then I don't have to waste a god apple! Off for the monument! Noted. Keep that in mind. Good shit to remember. Lovely. I think I just need to streamline my mornings more. So the problem with mornings is I get lazy, but I'm also the most productive. Which sounds like it wouldn't. That's not a thing it would be. But it really is, because it's easier for me to get stuff done and actually get me started on stuff. But I procrastinate starting it in the first place. I'm like, I know I need to do that. This is absolutely just the executive dysfunction and me waiting for my goddamn meds to kick in. Hey, there's the monument. Okay, so yes, it is in a lava. It is in a lava lake. It's just kind of cramped in here. So immediately we're gonna cheese the hell out of those things. I don't got time for that. Oh, right. 1, I picked them up. 2, I need the skulls. So come over here. I need to zoom this in so I can keep an eye on little bastards that want to ruin my day. There we go. No little bastards? Cool. You know what? Yeah, I kind of need bones. Swarming with ancient debris, I say. There we go. Okay, there is one debris room. 1. I think it was this side, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me just make this a whole lot easier on myself. Oh, right, because vein miner. And then we go pick him up. Where did I pick him up? Yes, I did. Fantastic. That saved me a bunch of time. Cool. Nice. I don't think there's any more. I don't think they'll spawn too often. I'm gonna imagine there's probably just gold in the center of that. I think I checked and there was. There are chests down here in like this little sewerish area. But it's mostly full of hoppers for some reason. I could not tell you why, but that is their loot table. And then this is this room. Yep, hoppers. I don't know why. I'm not gonna complain too much. Debris! There it is. Give me debris. Can I have frames? Frames! We're back! I have the frames! Yay, okay. I gotta love the lag that accompanies this always, without fail. Doink, 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 doink. And just for shites and giggles, I am curious. Neither. Stronghold. 1500. Okay, that's not bad at all. Might as well. If it's literally right here where we've already gone out all this way, there's no point in not. There really isn't. I'm gonna have to make a bunch of stuff back to back to back to make sure I get this video out though this week. My brain is just catching up to that fact, because the tridents, I need various things to upgrade spawners. There are different things you can do. These are the things I want out of it. What are you? You're a blaze spawner. Very apt. Take that. Goodbye. The things I want, I require the things I've talked about. The turtle shell, the tridents, the beacons, and the Tears music disc. So chances are, trident I can get fairly easily, thankfully, because I can loot those from ocean mine shafts fairly consistently, it seemed, and if not, I can always go to an ocean ancient city where there's a lot of tridents that there's a lot of drown that spawn there, which makes more tridents, and there are some people that specifically have them, which increases my chances a fair amount and makes it the waiting game a lot easier. I only need 4, at least. I want to at least upgrade the spawners for the Enderman submarine. But that still means 12 wither skulls, not 4 beacons. Where am I at this point? Or this way. Okay. I got myself stuck in a hole. That's what I did. That's what I did. What we're gonna do is we're gonna just casually... Just gonna leave my horde mark on the world. We're just gonna... Let me out. Let me out. This is not a dance. I'm begging for help. I'm screaming for help. This is not a dance. Let me out. Thank you. I said let me out. Let me out. Where? Is this just a little... It's just a little underground cave. There's nothing going on here. It's just a poor little underground cave. I still have 200 to go. Where? Salvation, other side. Please, please. Just let me out. Let me out. I was worried that was lava. Let me out. Cat? You good, dude? You good, fine sir? Yeah? Just big stretch? Yeah? Okay. He usually doesn't make any sounds, so if he starts making sounds, I get a little concerned immediately. He just vibes. That's what he does. He just hangs out. That's all he need to do. Hey, Dreadcast! I haven't actually gotten one yet. Yay! Yeah, you can tell I haven't gotten one. We have a baby! It's a baby boy! There we go. Stronghold! I think... Hey! Library room! Nice. Perfect. There we go. I also wanted the trim. So I don't have that yet. Depth Strider, multi-shot protection. I am interested in any debris you may have. And some frickin' respiration would be nice. Hey, this is the room I teleported into when I was looking at it on the copy of the world. You're the entrance. Okay. I didn't have to mine it at all. Well. Another room. I feel like the debris that I was seeing could have possibly just been I'll take it. I'll take that. Thank you. I feel like the debris I was seeing could have absolutely just been natural debris that just so happened to be there. 100% it could have been. And where? This where? This there? Yeah, sure, I'll take some diamonds. Go anywhere? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I use FreeCam like a little drone. It's just my eyes, so I don't have to waste the time walking around when I really don't need to be wasting my time. That's absolutely the goal of it. Tisco nowhere. That go nowhere. You go somewhere. So we go that where in a moment. Tisco. Somewhere. Hi. Goodbye. Hi. You suck. Goodbye. Hey, spooky, scary, skulls. Another saddle. You go anywhere? No. Not at all. You go anywhere? No. Okay. We'll keep the wither skull down. And apparently this skull is spawning on top of this. I really need to find out. Excuse, you don't get to lag. Hey! Back-to-back skulls? Oh, where is that? Hey, the skull! There's a shark! For some reason, it's a thing. I don't know why they're loot in the stronghold. If it's just like a... I think it's specifically this place. I don't know why it's loot specifically in this place, but it is. It's a consistent loot drop. And I'm not sure why here of all places, but it is, because this is definitely a different loot table. Okay, what are you? It's a blaze. Damn. I could hope. But no, it won't ever be a spooky, scary, skelly skull. Alright, there's like 4 chests up here. I should check that. I should maybe do that. Just perhaps. There's another shark. Just another shark. I don't know. I don't know. Nope, that goes nowhere. Okay. Yeah, I'll take another template. Why not? Fumes, do you have? Nothing. Diamonds, thank you. Literally an empty corridor. Lovely. Piece of debris and another shark. I don't know why there's sharks. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't get it. It's some very funny haha, but I don't get it. What loot table have the sharks gone into is my question. Because there could be just literally the reasoning. This is a new place that people haven't been to yet. So I'm seeing them here. But also, why? Is that literally it for this? Did it not spawn in a route? It didn't actually spawn in. That's it. It did not spawn in the end portal. Oh no, it did. It did. Where am I missing this then? How's this connected? Oh, that one corridor I missed. Yeah, it would be, huh? Yeah, that's how it goes. That's what it be. That's what it do. And another blaze spawner. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. Lovely. Alright, this is kinda a little bit pointless. And like one piece of debris here. So that was literally all we got. Damn. Just nothing happened. That was it. I really need to find... I swear. It's probably Epic Dungeons from Amalgamation that I'm thinking of. That has the Wither Skelly Skulls. That is like 2000% the answer. Because I have so many different things that give you dungeons in that mod pack. And they all look, because I have so many of them, they all look kind of the same, and I always keep them kind of vanilla-esque. So it's always vanilla-like dungeons. Just with varying degrees of fanciness. And hitting your face into walls. Oh. I just need to find a way. I want to find a way where it could do with a Skelly spawner. That'd make life so easy. I wish. I know how we could get infinite food. I can't remember, it was the stronghold. There are some rooms in that stronghold that will spawn a zombie hoglin spawner. Which I'm not, do the zombie ones still drop pork? I don't think they do. Never mind. We just have to find one that does pork, find a normal hoglin spawner. I think the little dungeons kinda do, sometimes. It might be a rare thing, I think they do. I'm not totally certain of that. Gonna have to check my facts on that one. I love trying to travel when the chunks won't load. It's so much fun. This is a dead end. It's so much fun. I'm gonna die. Give me more rockets. Lovely. Which, what, tway, tis, tear, twiz, ta. Ta. You know, I'm gonna steal some slime. I mean, I'm here. Not every day you run into naturally generated slime blocks, I'll take it. Not a bad haul, though. For going out for 12 pieces of netherite. And in an hour, I got 36. As well as 2 wither skulls and everything in this backpack. And 23 diamonds. So that's not bad. Jeez. Can I see where I'm going ever? That would be great. If I could, I would walk around this area. There's a reason I am flying. Okay, this one's a little more okay. Never mind. I just want to go home. I'm just trying to go. I'm trying to leave. It won't let me. Yikes. I hate this leftover congestion. It sucks. I feel like if I still have it tomorrow at that point, I just gotta take some allergy meds and see if it's literally just my allergies. Hey, another one. Great. Thank you, Incendium. You're great. This isn't the structure in the typical sense you'd expect. It's literally a boss battle arena, and that is it. That is all you do here. You throw a nether star on top of it, and that's how you summon the boss. He drops a pretty cool bow, though. It's fun. If you use spectral arrows with it, it has a full charge up, and it'll beam fire after it. It's really cool. Trailblazer. I think the last time I fought him, I got a gay shield, too. Literally, it was a rainbow shield. Literally. I am saying this as a gay man. There we go. Where? Can I please not be in the void? I have a little trust in like the ceiling and seeing the ceiling load in front of me. There's a little bit of trust there. If I could see the ceiling's loading in front of... Yeah, if the ceiling's descending, then I'm not safe anymore. Just gotta trust the ceiling. Until it ruins me. Until then, I trust the ceiling. Very, very slowly. Very... Ooh. Mostly trust the ceiling, apparently. Let me go! Let me go! I just wanna... what are you on, apparently? Jeez. I don't even go to bed that late. I get a decent amount of sleep, considering my cat wakes me up a bunch. I'm usually awake before my alarm. And I get to exist in that fun little world where you're not awake, you're not asleep, you're kind of cognizant about what's happening. But you're like half like, oh, I just want to finish the stream. I don't remember what it was. I swear I had some weird ass... I woke up like a good couple different times. So I had 3 different dreams last night, but I was cognizant enough to like connect them together somehow. I don't know how or what was going on. For some reason, my mind wants to say Markiplier was a part of it somehow. I don't know. But I had a bunch of dreams that were interconnected. Maybe I just need to do dream journal. I don't know. I have a really... I do have a nice journal, a leather-bound journal that I was using for journaling. Like, day-to-day journaling, but I wasn't too big of a fan of doing that in the first place. I should just make that into a dream journal, honestly. That'd be a far better use of it than what it's doing right now, which is just rotting away in my closet. You know what we need to do? It's for me to get the soul tier discs, I just need to build a little gas farm above the quartz flats. Can I steal some? Hey, nice, thank you, random person who did that. I do actually want the cobwebs. I can use that for decor. You use give. You suck. Can you not? Y'all all suck. I was just like, someone's clearly looted this, so you respawned, I guess? Ooh, okay, I'm genuinely gonna die. Okay. Don't fuck with it. Noted. Anyway, build a farm, gas farm above the quartz flats, which would also give us gunpowder. I've yet to find a creeper spawner. So it's still old-fashioned creeper farms. I'd offer this as an idea to Axe, but I think I might do it myself. Because she has an empty tower she doesn't quite have a use for. And she's like, I'm trying to think of what to do with it. I'm like, oh, you could do a creeper farm in there. That'd be actually a really good spot to do it, because of some creeper farm designs. I might just honestly make a creeper farm tower myself. Sounds like a good use of my time. Finally back home. We can quickly make up. I should have more than enough to make the Destructor Hammer. I have no reason to see why I would not have literally everything you could need for it. I have gold. I got more gold blocks in case I don't. We have the diamond, we have iron, we have redstone. I now have the netherite. I have more than enough netherite to make the netherite hammer you need to start the damn thing. We got all the things. I immediately tried to elytra glide when I literally just took off the elytra. We just need 12 of this right now. Gold. Gold. Oh, yeah, I have gold. I have gold. It's fine. Where's my iron? Iron block. And then we need a redstone and redstone block. And we're gonna make ingots. And then I'm gonna grab stick. And we grab a whopping 3 blocks of diamond. And we make another right hammer. Is it going to automatically give me? Of course it's not. Lovely. Let's see if I can actually remember all these. We make the first core. We make an impact core, which can then make the reinforced core, which then makes the reinforced impact core, which then makes the destructor core. And I honestly forgot the last tier to use diamond blocks, so I'm just gonna Diamond Destructor Hammer. And we could finally have the bunkus to my bingus. Binkus. That is the entire reason I have that named as that is. That is the entire and only reason. I don't have a place. Oh no, I do have a place for obsidian. And how many of these enchantments do I already have? Oh, right, lovely. Efficiency 3. Efficiency 4. I'm breaking. I don't want to have fortune, I want to have silk touch. Okay. So we have a tiny bit of trading to do. We'll quickly throw together bonkus, and then we can go chill out with some Skyrim. Where did I leave? Oh, I know where I left I know exactly where I left myself. I'm exploring through Solstheim to do questing and also genuinely explore because I haven't really gone through the Solstheim DLC a lot. And see what quests there are, what I can do, what I can get. And I went to a dwarven structure. I'm like, oh, this isn't the other dwarven structure. Let's get this done real quick. Because I know there's another one that has a whole quest line attached to it. No, this one also has a quest line attached to it. I'm going through, I'm like, okay, it's this thing and this thing. Yeah, right, okay. And then I walk through a pair of doors, and I realize, oh, it's this dwarven dungeon. There's a bunch of giant cogs and everything. I literally just got a mending book, it has occurred to me. I had just gotten one not too long prior. Well. Yeah, okay. Make this a little easier. We gotta do boop. Wait, that's the more expensive way, isn't it? Yeah. Bonkus? There we go, we have the boys. Binkus and bonkus. And craft up the blocks again. That's the entire reason I have these up here. Which should have repaired a little bit of my wings. Not too much, I didn't get a lot of XP out of that. I didn't even realize when I got 51. It's probably left over from the dragon, honestly. Now we got Binkus and Bonkus. Honestly, I should probably try and move around some stuff here. And then to keep these up here. I don't actually use these two horns, so I should probably move these and do this so I can then... Because I don't use the hammers a whole lot, they end up taking inventory space more often than not. So I feel like that's the best way to go. That feels right. And now... fastest way, we're gonna go this way. I can leave myself and show off a little bit of the progress of paths. No, I do need to drop off. I need to drop off stuff. Never mind. You get to see no progress. You'll have to see that Thursday. Thursday will probably be continue bridges. We'll make it all the way over to the next bridge I have to do and make that bridge. And then call it a day there. I need to completely get rid of everything in these backpacks later. That's the first thing we're gonna have to do when I log on tomorrow. The torch can probably be kept in here. I don't want these to cross over. I have too many things. But all of this is various equipment. So I really... Okay, the name tags are probably the best thing that can get moved. But I don't have a better place for them. This gets placed up here then, with the other stuff. Okay. The Thursday, when we get back to Minecraft, we'll be continuing these paths. We last time did this bridge. I continued it all the way to here. This area is a big mountain area, so I'm just going to go through it instead and make a tunnel. And I need the hammer to do other tunnels as well. And it's going to continue out this side and go through here. And once we get across this river, we'll cut it for the day. And then I'll probably do this area off camera. That should be about it. I'm thinking.